Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me watch something else. So I'm going to do a reaction today to the Heresy reveal trailer that they've done. So this is a new episode that's coming out in Destiny very soon, I think. I think in the next week or the week after. But I haven't seen any of this, so let's go into it essentially blind. I think, if I remembered what they said ages ago, I'm pretty sure they said that Heresy was going to be on the Dreadnought. I think. I don't know, we'll find out.
Hello everyone and welcome. It's good to see y'all again, Guardians. Welcome here to Bungie HQ. We're broadcasting live from beautiful Bellevue, Washington, today with our stream that's going to be talking through some of the awesome stuff you're going to be able to check out just next week when Act 1 of Episode of Heresy launches on February 4th. Now, worry not, you're not going to just have to sit here and listen to me. My name's Andy, I work on the social media team here at Bungie, but I've got some amazing colleagues here to go ahead and share some of the finer details of all the cool stuff we're going to be checking out today. So, to not waste any time and show y'all what you came here to see, let's go ahead and introduce everyone so we can get to it. First things first, this gentleman to my left, a brand new addition to our show. If you've joined us before, you may recognize his face, or not recognize his face, rather. The one and only Mr. Nico Stevens, narrative architect here at Bungie. Nico, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Andy?
Doing well, thank you. Obviously,
I'm really tempted to skip all this because I don't care about any of these people. I just want to know the details.
What it is a narrative architect does. Can you tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I might cut down the video for you guys, actually.
I joined Bungie.
3, 2, 1.
Bungie killed the witness.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers, sorry.
That witness is dead.
So we take out the witness, and from the witness and from the Pale Heart, we see all of these echoes like burst out and start flying across Sol.
Yeah.
The first one that we encountered was in the hands of Maya Sundaresh. We dealt with her, she escaped. Second one we encountered was in the hands of
slowly
Fiful.
floated down a river.
He did not escape. And then the third one that we are encountering is going to be here in the Dreadnought. And after it left the Pale Heart, a very specific dread that we're going to be seeing this episode gave chase to it. So we're going to be dealing with the Dread and the Taken and the Hive all revolving around this third echo.
Excellent, very exciting. All right, so we have up on screen here in just a moment, I think, the key art now for this next episode. There's a lot going on here, but Nico, I'll leave it to you. Can you tell us just a little bit about what we're seeing here?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that's probably going to draw a lot of people's eye is that ghostly visage of Oryx peeking over the top there. So Oryx is, I'll just say Oryx is back to some capacity, right? Yeah. And the Echo has a lot to do with that.
That makes sense.
So
going to the Dreadnought.
Not only are the Guardians jumping through, trying to figure out what exactly is going on in this first act, but they're dealing with this old foe that has been dredged up from the bones of the Dreadnought. And I don't want to reveal too much. But we're going to be clashing.
The Guardians will be there very soon. We're dealing obviously again with the Taken King again in some form. So we have some old foes returning. But before we go ahead and move on into gameplay and dive into that, we have some old allies returning as well. Can you tell us about some of the folks we're going to be working with this time around as well?
Yeah. So our main cast right now is Eris Morn, which is our resident witch Hive expert. A lot of people know her from Season of the Witch, aptly named, or even further back, Season of Arrivals is kind of like the first time that she jumped back into this new sort of saga story arc. So we have Eris Morn. She is, as I said, our resident Hive expert. We have the Drifter, her faithful companion, who's following alongside and helping us kind of pick apart what the Taken are doing here. I think I said at some point before that he always has his finger in the weird of the universe.
He certainly does.
And there's some weird going on here.
Excellent.
And then finally, we have Deputy Commander Sloan.
Right.
Makes sense.
Sloan is our Titan representation here. People will remember her from Season of the Deep or even the Red War. And she has been afflicted with this like Taken corruption that we saw back in Season of the Deep. And she's learned how to sort of hold it back, but also utilize it to make her stronger. So she is going to be teaching us some of that.
Yeah, that's we're going beyond once again.
Yeah,
so it's safe to say. So we've obviously got a whole new cast of friends and enemies to go up against. But really quickly as well, something we were talking about a little bit earlier in the show is the player journey as well. Is something you guys are really excited about this time around. Can you tell us a little bit about how players are going to be experiencing some of these quests?
Yeah. So Okay, so players have been talking a lot about the structure of the player journey and how they'd kind of like to see it shaken up a bit, right? So this is going to be kind of one of our first steps into trying to make that happen in a more tangible way.
Cool.
So you will still notice some of those elements of like returning to a vendor or something like that, but you're also going to notice that we're doing a lot more bespoke, spread out delivery for these beats.
Cool.
You're going to find characters like in the midst of a mission sometimes.
Yeah.
There's some new tech that I don't want to spoil. I want players to see it in the game.
Yeah.
But there's some new tech having to do with the way that we would holo project characters.
Yeah.
In that sort of projection unit that you would find in the helm.
Yeah.
We're expanding that out so that it's a little bit more versatile, and it is more cognizant of where players want to be and less about like having to return to this one spot and kind of loop through the helm over and over again.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys, obviously. I'm sure our audience of Guardians who have
Still gonna be
let Dylan
time
know
gated
and
and
his
shit, I'm
compatriots
sure,
what we're looking
but
for are happy to
that's
be
a
hearing
step
that.
in the right
So,
direction, I
let
suppose, depending on how they do it.
Helm, let me talk to this character. Let me go back to the helm. Let me talk to this character.
Is there a holo projector somewhere?
Let me point out how ridiculous it is, though. There was a point. There's multiple examples of this, but I'll go back to the one that was in the last episode, quote unquote. There was a point where I had to walk past Ido so I could go to the holo projector and talk to Ido. I'm like, motherfucker, I had to walk past you so I could get to the holo projector so that I could talk to you on the holo projector. I can see you from the holo projector. I look left and you're there. Like, why is that a thing? It's so crazy that they use the holo projector the way they do. It's like, just have them talk to me somewhere or be part of a mission or something. It seems so stupid. But yeah, good they're addressing it, but it is a stupid problem and they've had it for ages.
Somewhere in there?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, really exciting. So as we kind of move into that player journey, we're going to be working on something called the Path of Resolve. Can you tell us just a little bit about what that is before we dive into the gameplay here in just a moment?
Resolve.
Yes, so there is an event that happens at the beginning of the episode,
Exciting.
Which people will see very, very soon after the launch.
Yeah.
And this sort of kicks off, I'm going to choose my words very carefully here.
Redacted.
Redacted, yes.
This redacted event sort of kicks off Sloane's motivation for teaching us about the taken power that she has been holding back.
Yeah.
And so that is the path of resolve here. She's going to be teaching us how to fight fire with fire. We're going to be going into the Dreadnought, taking some control of that taken energy, taking some control of those old hive magics, and wielding them using our light and using our paracausality, wielding that new power against our enemies.
Very nice. All right, we're going to be obviously keeping Sloan very
Wielding
busy.
darkness.
With that, but
Well,
speaking of,
wielding
we actually have our
taken energy, I
requisite
guess.
local fire team here in-house in the activity as well. Ryan, this is the Nether. This is the new activity that's going to be arriving with Act 1 of Episode Heresy. Can you tell us just a little bit about what this is for starters as we go ahead and kind of dive into it?
Yeah, so the Nether is a 3-player activity, and we are back on the Dreadnought's patrol zones. And we'll be exploring the Dreadnought, rooting out the Taken Hive and Dread Corruption that are taking place and taking hold inside the Dreadnought itself as we go through these spaces. And the Nether itself is a uniquely different type of activity. We're really trying to, baseline, some inspiration for this activity was looking at Shattered Realm, the Coil, and of course, the Dreadnought's patrol spaces, of course, we are in the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just for starters, what you're actually doing inside the Dreadnought is baseline, the patrol zones are randomized and varied. The encounters inside are varied and randomized as well. So time over time, when you launch into the activity, it's going to be a different starting bubble, different encounters, and different events and objectives for you to engage with and accomplish as you're exploring the Dreadnought itself.
Yeah. What kind of like modifiers would you say players are going to go up against in here? Because surely they're not just going to go into the Dreadnought and get a warm welcome necessarily.
Yes. Yeah, so the Nether has some very unique modifications to it that we're experimenting with. So first off, players do not regenerate health. And to compensate for that, we are doing something special where we're providing players with plus 300 bonus health baseline to their original HP values and plus 75 shield value. So alongside that, we really want to make your health regeneration or your health as like a resource as you're fighting through this, as we are looking at this as a very rogue-lite experience, and we need resources to contend with to make and hit that rogue-lite. Emphasis on light there, of course, because this is still a very uniquely Destiny experience. And we have a lot of things contributing to that as well. So we do have ammo scarcity as well, so players won't be getting as much ammo, but there will be ways and avenues to get health and ammo drops in the activity, as well as boons that will improve your power over time as you engage with the activity.
Interesting.
That progressive sort of idea of like power and building up.
Let me just go back for a second. I want to highlight something.
Into the
plus 300 bonus health.
This here, the way that this guy is carrying this thing.
Original HP values and plus
surely if the
75,
developer overview,
shield
the guy
value.
is picking up and dropping
So
thing because
alongside
it's the
that, we
fastest
really
way to
wanna make
move.
your health regeneration
You need
or
to
your
increase
health-
the movement speed while you're carrying an item. If the guy is doing stupid, hacky, like, jump and throw, jump and throw, jump and throw, jump and throw, because it's faster than just walking with the crystal, you have problems. Granted, it's also a fire crystal, so maybe he's doing that because it's doing damage over time. But even still, that means the damage over time is too much. You shouldn't be the mechanic shouldn't be having to throw it in the air and grab it again over and over again. That seems silly, but whatever.
Of like building yourself up, pushing
Sorry,
deeper.
let's find where I actually was.
And we have a lot of things contributing to that as well. So we
this
do
will
have ammo scarcity as well, so players won't be getting as much ammo, but there will be ways and avenues to get health and ammo drops in the activity, as well as boons that will improve your power over time as you engage with the activity.
That progressive sort of idea of like power and building up how strong you are as you're moving through the Nether, that roguelite experience. It's also reflective of that narrative of like build.
Sorry, give me a second. I just want to read some of these. Increase elemental damage dealt, drains grenade, and class abilities.
through the Nether.
Finishes grant a strand grenade, which detonates into many unraveling
That
projectiles.
roguelite experience.
Finish your final blows, convert the next thrown grenade into a bonus fragment grenade. Okay. So you can get a really good bonus with a negative, or you can get just bonuses. See, the thing is, ordinarily I'd be like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. The problem is, I've just spent like the past 2 days I did the Daviri paradox in Warframe. I'm back into Warframe, by the way. I've started playing again. But I did the Daviri paradox, and I've been doing Daviri for the past 3 days, so this seems so boring in comparison, because it's essentially the same idea, it's just not done as well. So I kind of am not as hyped as I might be.
It's also reflective of that narrative of like building yourself up, pushing deeper into the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought is resisting you. It's trying to make sure you can't like move towards the Echo and figure out what's going on. And this is you finding ways to like pierce the veil and move beyond their barrier.
New foes and new challenges obviously warrant new strategies along the way as well.
Absolutely.
And then you saying like ammo and health is kind of like a resource, so you're not seeing it drop off of enemies and stuff like that, but there are things that you can find like a resource and collect and all that.
Yeah, so we have destination materials. We have urns and pots kind of placed around everywhere, and these
What is
and also
that orb he's
destination
throwing
chests
down?
that players can find. And when
was
you
his
break
grenade.
these destructible pots, they'll explode into like a
Interesting.
rain of health, ammo, heavy ammo,
Arc fragment?
sometimes boons, sometimes revive tokens. I forgot to mention we are using revive tokens here as a resource as well, so you really need to manage, but like there are avenues to get more revive tokens. There is more avenues to get health and ammo. So we really want players to explore the Dreadnought and encourage that exploration by looking for these urns, looking for the chests, and like searching for those boons, because there's multiple avenues and like ways for players
Could
to
be an
search
exotic
out
too, I
and go
guess.
get them.
Yeah, and I mean that resource scarcity is really going to make you want to chase those down. And I can imagine that health is a sight for sore eyes.
Absolutely.
To that end as well, actually, obviously you mentioned we're back at the Dreadnought, but I can't imagine it's the exact same one. Can you tell us a little bit about how the Dreadnought has changed?
Yeah, so since the Echo has hit the Dreadnought, a lot of the spaces have changed and like modified. A lot of the skin of the Dreadnought ship has like peeled back, revealing bone and chitin and showing off new secrets, new pathways. So you are in familiar spaces if you've played the Dreadnought before, but there is a lot of new, interesting, unique pathways. Things have changed. Things have become abnormally different. Oh,
There goes our fire team.
And that's the last we ever saw of that party ever again. As mysteriously as they arrived, they were gone.
Yeah.
And we've kind of like for players who are wanting that explorative aspect, right? We've kind of like separated out the modes a little bit, so people can go in and they can explore the Dreadnought, but people who are like looking to just bust through the activity and get loot, they have a different match-made mode, right?
Absolutely. So the Nether has currently 3 modes. So there's the Nether Exploration for those solo type experiences, but they can bring their fire team in as well if they'd like to. And this is more of like that patrol-esque experience that you're looking for. I want to explore at my own like pace. I want to look for secrets. I want to just engage with the space like it was a patrol space back in the day. Yeah. It still is the Nether experience of where you're going from. You're playing through the 3 bubbles and there's escalating difficulty, but we do grant to you in that mode a multitude of revives. So you have a way larger pool of revives, so you can make mistakes.
Sure.
It's just for those players who want to like explore at their own whim, play at their own pace.
Find
and
secrets,
then additionally, there's
pretty much.
also damage modifiers for those players when they're engaging with bosses as a solo player, so they can actually tackle those hurdles as they come.
Nice.
And also some modifiers on like how many enemies are spawning, so they don't need to like get swarmed by every single enemy in the world.
You can really take in the skybox for a little while and hang out with your buddies. Yeah.
And then additionally, if you do get lost, because this is, we didn't want to overclutter the spaces with objectives, because there is a lot of things to do, and there's a lot of different things to do in every single bubble and location that you go to in the Dreadnought. If you do get lost, you just pop out in your ghost, and there'll be a bunch of star objective icons that'll like let you know where you should be looking and where you should be going for the next spot. Additionally, talking back to those different modes, we do have the match-made mode on advanced baseline difficulty, and then we do have expert as well.
Very cool. Okay, so plenty of challenges for the Guardians that want to undertake those. Make sure they're pushing not only themselves, but the opportunity to get loot as far as they possibly can.
Absolutely. And on that loot note as well, every time you complete a bubble, there is a chest checkpoint, so you do get loot checkpoints essentially. And like the average runtime for like a bubble is 8 to 12 minutes, but you do get the most loot by completing the entire activity as a whole.
Got it.
But there are checkpoints for players who just want to jump in for like 8 to 12 minutes, hit that loot checkpoint, like, okay, I'm out for now, or players who want to just like rush through it and get all the loot at every single end of every single bubble checkpoint.
Very cool. Okay.
I think it's in 3 bubbles.
Also,
so like 24, like half an hour-ish.
About the boon system is one that I heard you mention a little bit earlier. I'd love to actually kick off the conversation about that. I think we maybe saw the folks in chat that were eagle-eyed that were keeping an eye on the modifiers may have seen something a little bit earlier before. But can you tell us a little bit about the boon system?
Yeah, so the boons here are, we have a multitude of boons. We have minor boons, major boons, and corrupted boons. So minor boons are minor stat increases that are pretty much just increase your power and incrementally stack. They can stack up to 10, and they're just like the typical like increased light damage, increased darkness damage, movement speed on kills. Some are like based on health and regenerate health and are typical with mobility increases, but like things that'll make you stronger over time and allow you to tackle the more difficult bubbles as you approach them.
Yeah.
And then additionally, we have major boons.
Yeah.
And then from there, they're like actually more larger gameplay modifiers that actually affect your abilities and your actions.
Yeah.
And of course now, we do have Eric.
That's right. Yes, actually. So anyone at home that may have noticed, our good friend Nico, please give him a shout out in chat and let him know that you love him, has stepped out of the scene for just a moment, and we are now joined by gameplay feature lead Eric Smith. Eric, how's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you?
So for any, doing well, thank you. You guys are all so nice today. I'm so taken aback. For anyone that may not have seen you in the Vidocs or anything like that, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are, what you do here at Bungie as a gameplay feature lead?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm Eric Smith, gameplay feature lead on Destiny 2. So I help create the game's abilities, kind of anything the player can do, the game feel of the game, build crafting, kind of general sandbox stuff, and kind of make the controller disappear into your hands while you're playing.
Yeah, the many tools we use, you're helping go ahead and make sure that they're all available for us.
For the mouse and keyboard as well.
Right, those two.
I'm just sitting there tapping on an empty desk. That's how my Trials teammates feel. So, we're talking about the boon system. You obviously had a big hand in this as well. Rather. Can you tell us a little bit about, what this system is for and maybe about the boons the players are going to have available?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of boons available. There are the minor boons that you mentioned, and then there's the major boons. So the major boons are more gameplay affecting, and they will do things like, kind of like we saw in the Pale Heart with the Traveler's Blessings, right? Where you pick something up and it kind of gives you a new ability almost. One of those in the Pale Heart was Solar Slide, where you run and slide, and a solar wave would go out and blow things up.
Yeah.
In this, we have Solar Slide as well, but we also have Stasis Slide, where you run and you slide, and a big stasis wave comes out and makes crystals and freezes things, and you can blow them up yourself. And there's stuff that is going to allow you to heal more effectively. There's looks like this one's interesting. Reduces damage per piece of episodic armor worn.
Oh, cool.
It is quite significant boost as well.
Yeah. So there's a bunch, and then finally we have the kind of Kiss Curse boons, as we call them, but they have an official name. What is that?
Corrupted boons. And
here we go. We're looking at one right now.
Yeah, so these corrupted boons are offered at the same time as major boons, as players can only obtain 5 to 6 major boons / corrupted boons per run through. Those are granted to players.
Just let it power scale to infinity.
Once randomly at
What's
one
it
of the
matter?
3 encounters inside of the bubble, and then again at the end of the bubble once they complete it. And there's some ritual loop stuff too that will allow them to get another one at the start of a bubble or the start of a run through. But these Kiss Curse or corrupted boons, as we call them, essentially give you a great bonus or increase to a specific thing at the cost of a major negative. So one, for example, here that I'm really fond of is Glass Cannon, which increases all damage massively, while also increasing all the damage you take.
Yeah. Which is also, that's the dev name internally, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the dev name.
So if you don't find one specifically named Glass Cannon, we are obviously, we hang out in our own Word docs and Excel sheets quite a bit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And that one is interesting. It's an interesting choice that you can make since the kind of like the risk to reward ratio, right? Because you have non-regenerating health in here, you really have to come at each encounter with that kind of mindset of health as a resource.
It is.
And make sure that...
Sure, but I feel
take
like that's probably
damage
always worth
from
taking.
This enemy or that enemy, it has the potential to stick with me unless I can find a healing source.
And really got a fire team option too, where it's like every time you're offered those major boons, your teammates can also choose different ones. So it's like, oh hey, 2 of us are going to do that glass cannon, or no, external.
Yeah.
And then another person is going to do, oh hey, every time I do a finisher, things are volatile around me and I get my grenade back. So I can spam more of those, keep you a bit safer when you get swarmed by things.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And it's
I might
also good to know
play
on the
Warlock
health
this
regeneration
season.
aspect. We have the gameplay and sandbox team has tuned a lot of the
Rift seems
abilities
powerful
and
in
weapons
this.
that do heal players, so they're not extremely overpowered. So there's been a wide tuning pass on all of this entirely. So you're gonna see when you're trying to heal up your teammate with one of our new support auto rifles.
Yeah.
It's gonna take some time, but it does work and it is very efficient and very helpful, especially the ability. So you're definitely going to spec into healing builds.
Oh, man, I have to just give a shout out to the team on like Season of the Deep. We were going deep into the oceans of Titan, and now it feels like we're going deep into space, and like the pressure you can feel it. Tentacles taking energy, like they knocked it out of the park with the vibe here. I'm feeling a little claustrophobic, but also like,
just getting
you feel it.
pulled deeper into the labyrinth, right? Yeah,
I agree with him. It looks really good.
So, in addition to, there's obviously
like the
modifiers
vibe.
you're going to be facing as a Guardian, as a fire team. There'll be boons available to you, but this episode as well is going to bring with it a bevy of new gear between both armor and weapons. Now, obviously,
Cool.
for the
I've seen
Keen
some of it.
Guardians in chat who are watching, there's obviously some seasonal armor, some episodic armor sets that we have here that you can go ahead and check out firsthand. But I think kind of in the spirit of this activity and build crafting, let's talk about some of the weapons, actually. There's one here on screen, obviously. This is our new support frame auto rifle. Given that health is such a precious resource in this activity, Eric, can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so this is Adamantite. This is our new Strand support auto.
Strand
and
support,
it has
okay.
some really unique features. One of those is that when I heal enemies, so these support autos, there's 2 of them in the game now. When I hip fire at an ally, it'll send out kind of healing rounds at them, right? And then if I need to, shoot an enemy right next to that ally, I can just ADS and go full offense, right?
Yeah.
But the healing from this, because you're shooting out strand rounds, if you heal an ally repeatedly, it'll actually cause them to sprout little unravel seekers, which kind of turns them into this like short-term,
That's kind of cool.
strand turret.
Throw your
almost,
friend
right?
as a grenade into the fight. Right?
Yeah,
Cover him in
seriously.
Telesto bolts, put it in, but now it's like, oh hey, I'm
Just
healing you and making you.
Let your hunter friend with the Caliban Slayer's handshake roll run in there and just keep him alive, right?
And that's why I'm so excited about this activity, because like, we've kind of introduced all these kind of healing things, but in a lot of the game, like I can just hide behind a box and heal, right? And here you can see our health isn't regenerating. So we need to really think about, maybe there is a dedicated healer on your team. Maybe there's multiple allies using healing rounds, right?
Yeah, honestly, that build crafting is kind of transcending now beyond yourself, just to like per activity, per fire team, whatever you've got. So this one's obviously going to be a
Abyssal
ton of
Edge
fun,
power
but
weapon.
that is
Sword, I
far
assume.
from the only weapon that's being added around. As far as the episodic weapons, are there any others in particular you want to call out?
There are. I do actually want to talk about this one with one more thing.
Oh, please.
This weapon can roll Slice and Tear, which are two perks that sever enemies.
Yeah.
It's not often we get a primary legendary weapon that can debuff in multiple ways.
Yeah.
And that's going to play into things like the artifact this season, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Oh yeah, we'll get there.
So there's Adamantite, which is a really
Slices.
solid weapon.
Good.
And then let's look at Psychopomp. So Psychopomp is our new area denial grenade launcher.
Such a good name.
I love it. Yeah.
It's just Psychopomp.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So Psychopomp, so these area denial grenade launchers, the fantasy of these things is like a flamethrower, right? We don't have flamethrowers in the game, but this is as close as you can get to a flamethrower. So I imagine I'm using one every time I use this thing.
I'm going to now.
This thing has a really cool new perk on it that
Combos
keys
with bolt
into our
charge
new
will
arc
amplify final
keyword
blows
bolt charge,
granted.
which we'll also talk about
Additional
in a bit.
bolt charge.
And also it works with amplified as well. So this thing, if you are
Fuck is
arc
bolt
crafted
charge?
this season and arc has received a ton of love, this thing
Sounds
is gonna
like it.
absolutely slay out.
Yeah. It's one we'll definitely get to see our fire team put it to good use here. But as someone
what I was
who's been
saying
building
before.
area denial grenade launchers into my
Let me pause it. I like area denial grenade launchers. They're a great addition, actually. They just make clearing really nice, particularly when you're defending an objective, which, Destiny, so you're doing that all the time. I'm not entirely surprised to hear there's been arc reworks, because that warlock had an arc grenade that turned into an arc turret, which I don't like. It wasn't like an arc turret from I don't know how to describe this. The Liar's Handshake one, right? The little arc buddy. It was like an actual turret on the ground, which is interesting. I'm wondering if they did a full arc rework, or whether or not they're just adding more aspects and fragments and stuff. We'll find out, I suppose.
loadout. I can't wait. Honestly, the second I learned this was on the docket, I was so excited.
The folks that have been working on these
Hang
weapons.
on, origin trait 2. Willing Vessel. Dealing damage or defeating targets with this weapon gradually grants increased stability, handling, reload speed, and charge rate. This effect gradually decreases over time, but is gained more quickly when near allies. Interesting. On this weapon specifically, I think the only thing that really matters is reload speed, and I guess handling, technically. But on the other weapons, I could see that being good. Stability and handling, just for dealing damage, is kind of nuts, to be honest.
Too. Like the general look of them, it goes along with what you were saying of, oh, hey, the Dreadnought's kind of peeling back. If you look at the weapon, you can see like, oh my gosh, there's like
the bone.
There's the
weapon.
core. Yeah.
Actually, Dylan, while I've got
It
you,
is
also
cool design.
The previous one on Adamantite, that one was an adept weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me pull out my handy dandy notebook.
There we go.
Here's the meme.
Screencast.
But yeah, you can notice that for this go of our episodic weapons, you can earn adept weapons, and these are we're considering or calling them our heretical arsenal.
Got it.
Heresy, heretical.
Yeah.
Like we're going deep into this.
It's not
theme.
theoretical, it's heretical. Love it. Yeah.
You can see that it has a new a different treatment to the colors. It's kind of like the holofoils from Into the Light.
Okay.
Not so much exactly that of, hey, it's an ornament, but like this has the base dye and all that, and it looks really good. Shout out to the team. But you can also notice there are multiple perks in each column. There's actually an extra origin trait as well. Shout out Taken King.
Reloading near allies, overflows the magazine, bows receive faster draw time, and swords receive faster charge time. Runneth over. Oh, that's from... that not the one from the raid?
that kind of stuff from a raid near you.
Yeah.
But there's a very interesting ways of earning these weapons. So you're going to be going into these activities, upping that difficulty. You're going to be exploring the dreadnought and looking for these. As well with the episodic weapons, there are going to be new fragile mods. So they're called fragile because these will be expiring at the close of the episode.
Okay.
But they're going to give you pretty insane bonuses to your outgoing power. So not necessarily the power of the weapon, but the actual like versatility of it.
Yeah.
One of these, I have the Power of Resolve. Rapid hits, they create Taken Seekers. They're really good against champs.
Yeah.
So that's an example. There are going to be a couple
Pretty
at
cool.
launch and then more coming with each act.
Yeah.
But these will be great in
It's
Nightfalls.
very cool,
They'll
in
be great in
fact.
higher content.
Champions and shambles.
Yeah. And then for when you're going in and earning these weapons, there was a ton of feedback, and we absolutely heard you. We're listening about the tonic system. So there are things with like the user experience was a bit rough of having to go back in, create more tonics, trigger them in the middle of activities.
Yeah, it was
because they were
actually, it
running
was
out.
absolutely
The
trash.
team really took that to heart. They want to make sure that there's agency in how you're earning these weapons. So they're going to be making it through the Tome of Want. You can kind of target these weapons. You don't need to go in and do this a ton of times. You can say, hey, I want to go for this auto rifle. I want to go for this grenade launcher, linear fusion rifle, and I really want to be going for that to try to get these heretical versions.
Yeah.
So effectively, like, I don't want to say more loot because it's not going to be like, oh, hey, you're getting 10 times more.
Yeah.
But it's going to feel like, oh, hey, I have a goal of getting this loot, and now I'm going to go and play the game and get what I'm looking for.
Definitely. No, it's super exciting, honestly. Just having those more opportunities to just, break your loadouts out a little bit, find new ways to go ahead and really excel, especially given the challenges we're going to be going up against on the
I mean, they didn't specify that really well, but my assumption is it's going to be a thing where you like, it'll be similar to what they did with the Shaxx event. What the fuck was it called? The anniversary thing where they re-released Mountaintop and stuff, where you can focus one of the weapons. So I assume, like, say you want the adamantite, right? I assume you're going to go into this book and say, I want the adamantite, and maybe focus, like, I want X-roll and X-roll to come up more often or something. I don't know. Maybe it'll be as simple as I want more adamantites, and it just increases the drop chance of adamantite. I don't know. So the reality of the situation is, Menagerie still was the best fucking targeted loot they ever did, and they got rid of that shit. Like, just give me Menagerie systems again, and I'll take it.
And with
It's
the,
better.
with the fragile mods, like, it's baking into that exploration. Like you were saying.
Also, I didn't add to it, but fragile mods are a cool idea for temporary power. The problem is, like, I know they're worried about power creep, right? And there's a big contingent of people in Destiny right now who are kind of annoyed at how easy the game has gotten because of the power creep, so you don't want to go too much into it. But at the same time, temporary power often feels bad when it gets taken away. So, I don't know. The thing is, if they continue doing that going forward, it just means there'll be new power. So you every season, like if you do like this idea of a fragile mod where you can have them for one season, that could work pretty well if you do like a set of fragile mods every single season. It's kind of like the artifact and the artifact perks, I guess. It's the same kind of system as that, where throughout the season you build up this ridiculous power and then you lose it all at the start of the next season, but there's a new set of really powerful shit that you can add as well. You can make it thematic power that way, which is interesting, but I don't know. You've always got to be careful about giving people power and then stripping it away, because it always feels bad when you strip away power from players, but I get the power creep argument.
How do you find them again?
Yeah, so they can be found through secrets and chests found in the Nether. They're spread out. They're hidden pretty well, but I imagine folks will find them over time or through some YouTube videos. But
Rick Cack is here.
We're gonna wait for. We won't miss it this time. Fallout, obviously. If you could make some guides for us, we'd greatly appreciate it. So,
Iswerg.
Iswerg, obviously, yes.
Yeah.
One of the best communities out there.
Let's see. Anything else? Yeah, I mean, the last keyword I want to throw on there is aspirational.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we want to have tools that players want to go and find, want to earn, and increase their power.
Yeah. So we've got a couple more weapons I definitely want to talk about because we're reprising some as well.
Just had to hit that
we have a brief
aspirational
reprieve,
buzzword.
from combat. I'd love to actually go ahead. I know you mentioned earlier aspects, Eric.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and take a look really quickly. We got our friendly neighborhood warlock here up first. Can you tell us about the new aspects the Guardians are going to have this time around?
I'm just going to read this. Ionic Sentry. An antique radio transmitter from the Golden Age. Listen close and you can hear the chirping of the last transmission yearning to be free. Defeat targets with kinetic or arc weapons or arc abilities to charge up an arc turret that periodically chains lightning between nearby targets, creating a stack of bolt charge with each hit. Press Q, deploy the ionic sentry, blinding nearby targets on initial impact. And bolt charge. Accumulate stacks of arc bolt charge. While you have bolt charge, sustained weapon damage generates stacks of bolt charge. At maximum stacks, any ability damage... At max stacks, any ability damage generates a powerful bolt of arc lightning at the target's location. Receive a stack of bolt charge grants you melee energy. Interesting. So, it's periodical lightning strike, essentially. Okay. That sounds cool.
Absolutely. So the Warlock has a new aspect called Ionic Sentry. And Ionic Sentry, when you defeat targets with kinetic or arc weapons or arc abilities, you kind of charge this thing that you see in low gauge on your screen. Much like Gunpowder Gamble, if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
When that's full, it grants you a bonus grenade that you can then throw out. On impact, it blinds anything nearby and then spawns this like little arc turret, right? That zaps things, chains to different things. And every time it zaps something, it accumulates a stack of bolt charge. So bolt charge is our new arc keyword. And what this does is when you have a stack of bolt charge, any damage you do, it's going to give you additional stacks. Once you hit 10 stacks, your next ability damage is going to, create this giant lightning bolt that comes out of nowhere, hits the ground, and just like fries everything nearby, right? So what Ionic Sentry can do is not only generate the stacks, but because it is ability damage in itself, it can expend the stacks. So you send this thing out and it is doing work.
You're throwing a meat grinder at them, basically.
So it's a turret.
Meat grinder.
And the turret
anyone foolish enough
buffs
to cross
itself,
it. But
essentially.
also, I mean, given
and your other
that's going to be
abilities.
using the new keyword as well, like it's not just going to be for mobs of trash. It's like you can throw this down against the big bosses and obviously have it blind them and do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, this is great against bosses because any healthy targets, it's going to be continually zapping them, granting you those stacks, and then discharging the stacks as well.
All right.
It's like an offensive version of the Stasis Warlock turret too. So it's like, let's say you stack them and you're going into onslaught, so you have your freeze. It's like, I need these enemies to leave me alone. And you come in and you're like, it's time to, we're gonna boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, man. They're gone.
Sure, but it also, if you are in trouble, kind of like the stasis thing, like let's hit the pause button. The blinding aspect of this, I can just kind of throw it out and smoke bomb and hide, right? If I need to.
All right, so Warlocks obviously have a brand new tool to add to their toolbox, but the other classes do as well. Which one should we show them next?
Let's stick with the arc thing. So let's go to Titan. So Titan, we have Storm's Keep. In this is like a...
I'm not going to let him describe it, I'm going to read it myself. Cast your class ability to grant a moderate amount of bolt charge stacks to you and nearby allies. While behind your barricade, you and allies gain stacks of bolt charge over time, and your weapons can discharge max stacks. Your weapons can discharge max stack of bolt charge. Interesting. Huh. It doesn't specifically say arc weapons either. Unless... It doesn't say it on bolt charge either, surprisingly. At maximum stacks, any ability damage generates a powerful bolt of arc lightning. If there's a way to get bolt charge on prismatic, which there might not be, it might all be accumulated through these new aspects, in which case you won't be able to do it in prismatic. But if there's a way to do it in prismatic, it means that you don't actually necessarily need to be doing arc damage with your abilities to get the arc bolt lightning strike. That's interesting.
Barricade modification. So any barricade you drop, it's going to kind of be electrified. And standing behind this electrified is going to passively accumulate bolt charge on you. So I drop this on the ground. I start shooting enemies from behind my barricade. Let's say it's a rally barricade, or like we just reworked Titan's Rampart.
Actually, I mean, at the very least, you can get bolt charge on other classes because this gives it to you and allies gain stacks of bolt charge. So you can get it on other classes, and then they will be able to trigger it off any ability and any weapon. Interesting.
Barricade you can shoot through.
Oh, yeah.
And that is going to be...
Hang on a second.
shooting enemies from behind my barricade. Let's say it's a rally barricade, or like we just reworked Titan's ramparts. The barricade you can shoot through.
Oh yeah.
Rework Titan's ramparts. Do you mean unnerfed the fuck out of Titan's ramparts? Because that would be what I would want. Just
and that is going to be kind of building those stacks up and discharging them as I'm firing my weapon.
Okay.
Like I said, bolt charge is usually only ability damage that discharges it.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm standing behind Storm's Keep, my weapon damage is going to discharge it as well.
Got it.
So it kind of turns any
Turns
weapon
everything
you
into
want into
Thunderlord.
like a quasi Thunderlord.
Not necessarily an arc weapon then in this case.
Correct, yeah.
Exciting. Okay.
Yeah. So this one's spicy. I think we're going to see this in a lot of damage phases, and we can play this all we want.
A lot of theoreticals we can dive into, right? Totally.
In dev, and then we drop it into the world, and
well, it seems like the obvious thing for boss damage is people are going to have at least one person rocking this and just dropping it behind everybody, because it means you can use a very high damaging weapon that is also doing those arc jobs. But I guess it depends too. Depends on how quickly you're getting bolt charge and how much bolt charge you require to get the lightning strike. If in a boss phase this is adding 5-6 bolt hits in the damage phase, then that's obviously just extra damage, and people are going to run at least one of these probably. Particularly because it's on arc too, right? So you can run it with Thunder Crash. So it's already spec'd for Titan damage. So you chuck the barricade down, Thunder Crash, everyone else is shooting, getting lightning things, you go back, keep shooting. I can see that in a boss rotation.
We'll see how we need to tune this thing. Maybe it's up, maybe it's down. But we want it to be powerful, and I think it is powerful.
There's a lot of players saw this preview in the TWID. I think it was last week, and they immediately noticed the.
I didn't read any of the this week of Bungie's. I'm just I'm so tuned out of Destiny. This is the first time I'm coming back since my last video, which was finishing off the story of Heresy. I haven't even finished my season pass. I'm probably not going to. How long do I have? 5 days? I mean, I could, but I don't want to play Destiny.
The animation for the Titan was changed, right? So when you went down to put down the barricade, it was like this big thunderclap, hey, I'm going to charge everybody up, right?
Yeah, and the animation went through a lot of different kind of versions. We put so much love into
cool having new
all
animations
of these,
for it.
Abilities because, it's in the game forever, and we want it to be right. So, there were slams and raises, and we ended up with the thunderclap, and our animators are godlike. They're absolutely incredible at their jobs.
Yeah.
But then it's animation. It's like the VFX artists have to time everything to the animation, and then the sound design people have to time it to that.
Yeah, I get it. It's a lot of work.
The test has to make sure we're not breaking anything. It's so much work goes into even one aspect like this, and we're really excited to put it in players' hands.
Yeah, it's a coalescence of art and science that you guys do that consistently blows my mind. But now we've got obviously one more for our friendly neighborhood hunters like myself.
Yeah.
As well.
Best for last.
This one will be able to get you out of sticky situations as well. So
Once again, I'm just going to pause to read this. On the prowl. Entering visibility marks nearby combatants as a priority target for you and your team. Defeating priority targets grants a weakening cloud of smoke that makes you and your allies invisible when passing through it. When priority targets are defeated, you and nearby allies gain increased weapon reload speed and stability for a short duration and are granted grenade, melee, and class ability energy. Interesting. It's 3 slots, which seems nuts, because this seems nuts. This is infinitely chaining invisibility with a buff to reload speed, stability, and grenade, melee, and class ability energy with every... This seems insanely powerful, because that's just infinite invis, right? If you have enemies to kill, then you're invisible forever. Interesting.
So, Arc Strider already has for arc aspects, but they needed one in their void slot. So we gave Night Stalker on the prowl, And shout out to the boy Danny Nanny, who is the designer for this one.
Yeah.
So on the prowl, you kind of become a hit person, right?
Yeah.
And you
A hit person?
whenever you go invisible,
Really?
like you get a contract to kill something in the area.
Yeah.
And that thing is marked, and a little, our target shows up
Needs to
on
be
them. So
gender
you and your
inclusive
ally.
with our murderer
If you
names.
successfully complete that contract and whack that jabroni, right? You.
Sorry, jabroni.
No, excellent use of jabroni. Yeah.
Thank you. So
That's canon now, everyone.
So I whack a jabroni, whack a jabron, and then what happens is my entire team gets some energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of a callback to Heart of the Pack from the old Night Stalker. It originally was actually a callback where we gave you stats, but then because we're reworking the stats coming up, like we decided to just give you
Are they?
ability energy.
I might need to read the TWAB.
Ability
Jesus.
energy, and then the victim, if successfully executed, explodes into a cloud of smoke, which I can then enter to become invisible again, thereby marking a new target. So I can kind of chain these like assassinations as I move throughout a strike or something, and my entire team can take
Marks
be
a nearby
So
target.
you can bring your fire
Interesting.
team through the same cloud of smoke.
same
Everyone
cloud of
goes
smoke.
invis.
Everyone goes invisible. So yeah, you're kind
all
of sneaking.
spicy, man.
It's,
Jeez.
it's on the prowl. We're prowling through the activity.
You can already see like one of the exotic pairings on the screen too. Those creepy eyes freak me out every time. But on the Oculus, like that's going to benefit the smoke and all that kind of stuff. You could pair with Lawrence Driver. Sorry, Ritz on social media asking for some gameplay today, but we have too much to go through.
Yeah.
But it's like you're embodying that I'm a bounty hunter fantasy. So your gun can be giving you bounties through Lawrence Driver. You're getting bounties through this. There's going to be a lot of combinations in build crafting.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned too, Gwyzin, right?
Yeah, Gwyzin. I always call it Gwyzin,
Yeah.
but Gwyzin Vest got a rework. So when you exit invisibility, it emits a weakening cloud of smoke, and then some super energy perks as well. So
Nice.
there's going to be a lot of strong pairings, and then with the artifact, Void features in the artifact pretty heavily too.
You know what? Honestly, you just gave me the best segue I could possibly imagine. We have looked, obviously, we've begun to scratch the surface of some of the new build crafting opportunities y'all are going to have. But obviously, we got a new artifact as well this episode. We've got the Tablet of Ruin, which seemed aptly named. Now, just as a starting point, can you let us know the general theme of this one?
Yeah, so the theme of this episode's artifact is kind of
cool
subjugation
lore-wise,
and,
Tablet of Ruin.
bending enemies to your will.
Yeah.
Essentially, as we are going back into the Dreadnought, it was unlikely that the Dread or the Hive were going to come peacefully, so we got to bring the big guns to force their hand.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
Yeah, it's not about us winning, it's about them losing.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So the Tablet of Ruin is there to ruin their day, essentially. Yeah, so I'll call out some highlights of mine from here. If we look at column 5, because column 5,
Column 5's a strong one.
that's where
we got to go
heavy
right
hitters,
to the chase.
we have Void. Which one is it? It's called Void Flux. That's it. Void Flux. So defeating weakened targets with a Void weapon applies volatile to nearby targets, and then you pair that with the column 4 Maligned Harvest, and rapidly applying volatile. It's volatile to
Defeating weakened targets with a void weapon applies volatile to nearby targets. Powerful targets increase the radius of the explosion. Pretty good.
nearby targets, and then you pair that with the column 4
Maligned Harvest, rapidly applying volatile causes your next instance of void weapon damage greater weakening burst. Okay, so they chain into each other. That's kind of cool. The reason I had to go back there is I wasn't really paying attention because I was looking at the perks for champion busting. The only overload we have is machine guns, by the look of it, which is interesting. Fusion or linear fusion for unstop or glaive, both good choices. And then we have barrier is sniper or sidearm. Which is kind of cool, to be honest. This is a weird setup this guy is running, but he might be using abilities to get some of the other stuff. But I feel like sidearm barrier is always one of my favorites just because of rocket sidearms. I like the way that works. And fusion is really good for unstop as well. Because you hit multiple times with a fusion blast, so it's a guaranteed stop pretty much. And you stop with like the first bolt, and then the rest of the bolts hit, and it does a bunch of damage once they're stunned. And Overload Machine Gun is also really good. It's just generally speaking, I would prefer to also have an Overload option that doesn't involve a heavy weapon, which they usually give you. Usually the heavy weapon option is like down here as like an extra node, but I mean, whatever. I can do Overload in like 1,000 different ways, so who gives a shit?
Blind Harvest and rapidly applying Volatile causes your next instance of Void Weapon damage to weaken, which then feeds back into the other one. And it's like, if you can get this...
You know what I can do, actually? And I probably should have been doing this the entire time. I can just like speed this up to like 1.5 times.
This engine going, you know, in a crowded room, it's nasty.
Me and my fellow Fighting Lion.
When I watch things by myself, by the way, I watch pretty much everything on 2 times speed, unless the thing I'm watching is like, you know, like story related. If I'm watching someone like play through a story in a video game or whatever, I'll play that on normal speed. But like anything that is just informational content, that bitch is on 2 times speed always.
Addicts are gonna have a really good time. This one I can already tell. The Fighting Lion subreddit, I want to see some clips.
And then I also want to call out Horde Shuttle in here.
please.
So Horde Shuttle, damaging unraveled targets with a
Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling. And there's a boost where Threadlings sever targets that they damage. That's kind of nuts. You spec into Unravel and you're getting Threadlings and the Threadling sever. That's
weapon occasionally spawns a Threadling.
Cool.
This is really good for your strand builds, especially against high health targets. Because I unravel them, they stay unraveled, I keep shooting them, they're just popping Threadlings out, you know, left and right. And then, because we talked about Arc, Flashover in column 4, when you gain a maximum bolt charge, you also become amplified. Amplified
bolts do more
is getting a
damage.
big kind of buff this this episode as well to its survivability. So really, Arc in general is it's hot. It's gonna be hot.
Yeah, it's got some spicy Arc builds this time around.
Shock 'em, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's it too. Dylan, can you walk us through some of the stuff in the first column as well? We're gonna have some new champion rather mods to take out.
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's all these really ability-focused items, which is great because there are a bunch of anti-champion keywords in there as well.
Yeah.
But let's say, like, hey, we're going in, we're doing a Nightfall. You can see actually there's anti-barrier sidearm for the first time in years. Like, I think that was around for one of the first Grandmaster rotations, and I was like, what sidearm?
Right.
Now we have rocket sidearms, we have Forerunner, so you can be like popping the shields, throwing the grenades, that kind of stuff. Anti-barrier
Is it the
sniper,
first time?
that was a favorite from the past.
Hang on.
We just did a big...
Is it the first time in ages they've had sidearms as barrier? Maybe sidearms were unstop or something. Yeah, no, it was unstop sidearms, is what I was remembering. Barrier sidearms is even better. Because I think, in my mind, Barrier is the most annoying champion. Overload and Barrier are about equally annoying. I think the only one that's not super annoying is Unstop, because you can at least still damage them and they don't heal, so that's something.
We work on glaives. The team did a crack job on there, so unstoppable there. And then up at the top you can see machine guns, and then linear fusion rifles, and fusion rifles are getting the unstoppable. And then in 5th column you'll see a perk that players may enjoy. It's particle.
Dealing sustained damage with fusion. Oh, particle reconstruction. Fucking sick. I love particle reconstruction.
I'm so excited. I mean, I just got my hands on the next mythic class finally. Thank you, Malachi. After all this time, honestly, so I have a hunch I'm going to be putting those in the main rotation pretty quickly as well.
You don't have Vex yet? Oh yeah.
Okay, don't. What
about you?
I don't know if I have a Vex.
I didn't even get it in D1, so it was like such a moment for me. It was like a decade of waiting, right? Yeah.
I think there's a reason to go back into Vault of Glass, and maybe we can help him get his.
I played.
Good point.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like some raids I played 5 times and have like 5 of the raid exotic, right? Another.
Oh, you're the guy where you get on the first run.
I usually am, but not with Vault for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, Matt Noguchi out there, you go.
Feast or famine, right?
Yeah.
So go back to Vault. You were saying.
Vault of Glass. So there are a bunch of folks where, they want crafting back. They want to do something where they have an end goal. And Vault of Glass is a great opportunity for us to say, hey, you've been going through Heresy content. You want to do some raids. You want to do something else. Like, we're adding weapons to Strikes, Gambit, Crucible. We have a bunch of new weapons in Trials, a new armor set in Trials that you've seen in some of these previews.
Yeah.
But Vault of Glass is getting crafting.
Yes.
Chat goes wild.
Yeah.
You can go get that Fatebringer, get it a couple times as a deep sight, craft it, and then you can make that roll that you've always wanted.
Yep. Yeah.
As you're going through Vault,
I mean, I don't
let's
care
say
that
you
much,
want to
to
go
be
through and craft like 5 of the weapons that are available, then you can hop
I'll
in
be
the-
honest. This is cool, and I'll probably collect them at some point, but I have so many god rolls of Vault of Glass weapons that I do not care. Like, I'll probably unlock the pattern for all of them, but like, my Timeless Fatebringer, any Timeless Fatebringer you get is already like god rolled, because it has a guaranteed perk of Firefly, so who gives a shit? It's, yeah, I don't know. I care less about this just because the raid is so old, so I've played it so many fucking times that, like, I think I have everything I could possibly want from that raid. I don't know. I'll probably, let's be honest, I'm just gonna fucking farm the chest once a week until I have all the red borders. That's what's gonna happen.
master with all your spoils, be going for those adept versions, and those have a chance to drop with multiple or more perks in those columns. We've been doing this for the last few raids with craftable weapons, but now it's like, hey, I want my he's and vengeance. There's a new intrinsic perk. What's the origin trait?
Yes.
And then let's say I'm trying.
Final blows with time lost magazine. Final blows with this weapon grant bonus super energy. When your super expires, this weapon's magazine size is doubled for a long duration and reloads from reserves. Okay, maybe I'm going back into Vault. I'll take it back.
Trying to go for a combination. I could get 3 on this, and then I can enhance it, make it this crazy rocket launcher that's good, and go into endgame and do some really cool stuff.
So we've obviously
Does that stack with bipod? There's so much shit that doesn't stack with bipod, and I hate it. Like, looking at this grenade launcher, I'm like, this looks really fucking cool because you have 4 rockets in the rocket launcher. But all of my experience with Destiny is to say that bipod doesn't stack with this, and therefore you have 2 rockets no matter what, which makes bipod a fucking useless perk. Or, well, not useless, but it makes the origin trait useless because you have bipod, right?
We've got another weapon. I know I mentioned some reprised ones, but actually, as long as we're hanging out here in the menus, Eric, I'd actually love to put you on the spot again and talk about just some of the exotics that players are going to be able to go ahead and acquire this episode as well. Let's start wherever you'd like to. Which one would you like to kick it off with?
Let's look at Barrow Dyad.
Barrow Dyad, I was hoping you'd say that.
So Barrow Dyad is a...
Is that a gun?
Fucking
Is that a gun?
cool
Actually,
gun.
It's hybrid gun for...
Our team does not mess around, man. That's so cool.
So this thing is a...
Everything I need to know is highlighted right now, so we're pausing. Taking Divergence. This weapon resonates with your choices. Hitting 3 different targets generates a large amount of blight. Blighted Seekers bore through targets. Panic response. This weapon generates blight as it deals damage. While not firing, blight depletes and the magazine is gradually refilled. Reload the weapon to convert stored blight into blighted Seekers. Okay. Interesting. So you can... It doesn't tell you the amount that you can stack to. I'm assuming there's an upper limit because it's Destiny, and they never let me have fun.
Strand submachine gun, and it is also a monster in combat. So this thing, as I deal damage with it, it generates this resource called Blight. And next time I reload, whether it's manual or I just run out of my mag, it's going to convert that Blight into these Strand Seekers that next time I pull the trigger, it's going to fire those out and they're going to bounce between enemies.
Here we go. Yep. So we got some gameplay of this right now, actually.
So, but you can also see
just juking everything. The Grim is a paid actor, obviously.
Tinnitus, no.
You can also see that this thing auto reloads over time. So this thing, rumor is it's partially sentient.
Yeah.
It has its own wants and needs.
It wants to kill.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you satisfy it, it's going to reward you.
Yeah.
So look how fast that ammo comes.
That's
so what you can actually do is play
quick.
this mini game where you are trying to shoot enemies to build up that blight. And then you can pace yourself to auto reload to build up more blight, and then manually reload to load all those seekers.
Is this number here? This +2, is that the number of blight you have, the Seekers?
In addition, it has this perk where dealing damage to 3 different enemies generates, in a short period of time, generates a large amount of blight.
Very nice. Okay. So equal opportunities to go ahead and clear out crowds, but also to just burn down the big bad that might be standing in front of you, whichever one's foolish enough to do so.
I don't think so. I'm not seeing...
They're going to be player.
I'm not seeing an indication of where your blighted Seekers are.
When you're talking about blight and those sorts of keywords, is this weapon of sorrow?
That's a great question. It is not a weapon of sorrow, but I heard another rumor that this thing is a kind of fossilized precursor to a weapon of sorrow.
Interesting.
But I can't, confirm
Redacted.
This, one of our top 3 favorite words, redacted. Okay, so this is the one, and we won't spoil how, but players will be earning this one this season. It'll have, catalysts and other intrinsics to earn as well, I assume.
This thing has a lot of surprises. I don't know where.
You can leave it there.
Let's just leave it.
I like that. Okay. All right. So obviously, the Barrow Dyad will be one that will be getting added to a lot of loadouts across the entire Sol system. But that's not the only one we're going to be taking a look at today.
Yeah. Let's also look at our new exotic trace rifle Lodestar. So this one will be given to players via the season pass. This is the first primary ammo trace rifle ever.
So cool.
Primary ammo trace. Interesting. This weapon fires a low-intensity arc beam with enhanced stability and accuracy.
And I'm excited.
Dealing arc damage with any source aligns the battery's coils. When alignment is completed, R press to disengage the safety and enable hip-fired starlight beam to apply jolt to any target damage for a short time. Aim down sights and slow the rate at which the battery drains. So you charge the battery, you can then do an alt reload and then guarantee jolts on primary ammo? Although this drains like a motherfucker. It does 1,000 RPM and its magazine size is 75. Huh.
So in hipfire,
Interesting.
this thing behaves like a the trace rifle you know and love. But when you ADS with it, it's closer to a pulse rifle actually.
Okay.
When you ADS, your standard pulse rifle has this kind of cadence where it's prap, prap, prap. There's like these kind of spaces in between the rounds coming out. But this thing is more the steady, EDM beat.
Here we go. Yeah, so players are seeing it now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're womp 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 womp.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And it's like it's nonstop until you run out of ammo.
That's actually kind of cool because, I mean, it's not entirely relevant here, I guess. Like the reason this is beneficial is if you have a few small targets you want to jolt. So you want to jolt like one here and one here. So if you're ADSing, you can just fire once, and it'll take less ammo. But it's interesting because a lot of the way, like if you're using Divinity specifically, a lot of the time it's beneficial to pulse Divinity when you're doing boss damage because it's more ammo efficient, and your damage with Divinity doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure you always keep up the weak point for Divinity. So like Divinity gameplay is standing there just going pulse, 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 and now they've just kind of built it into this gun, which is kind of funny.
Burst sidearms, burst hand cannons, your pulse rifles, and now we got a burst trace rifle. I love this kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, so outside of this unique firing behavior, as I deal damage with it, you can see down in the bottom left corner we have arc alignment. And what that's doing is it's charging the coils of the weapon. Once it's fully charged, if I press and hold to auto reload, or sorry, special reload.
Oh, right.
As I hip fire, I jolt anything I hit.
Yeah.
So the jolt is a debuff, right? So you can kind of charge this thing up, auto reload to go into the other fire mode, and then kind of sweep the beam across a bunch of enemies, jolt them all, and then
Paintbrush of death this thing. Yeah.
and then the final perk this thing has is when ADS, anytime you defeat a arc debuffed enemy, they explode into a blinding explosion. So it's this move where
cool.
I can charge it up, I jolt enemies,
Yeah.
I defeat the jolted enemies with the ADS shot, which explodes and damages more enemies, which charges it up. And
The loop continues.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah.
This thing has, I think, a really high skill ceiling.
And this is just this one weapon's loop. There's obviously all the different artifact mods. There's all the new aspects. There's the new gear we're gonna have available to us with the Dreadnought.
This guy's so close to death constantly.
There's some big brain combos you can pull off.
Yeah, and I will be counting on stealing all of them. All right, so we also, really quickly before we move on, we have some new armor as well with Trials. Dylan, can you briefly tell us a little bit as well about the new updates to Trials?
It's just triggered on me too. Wormhusk is probably quite good in this because it gives you infinite healing, right? Not as good as a Warlock if you're running Warlock and you just well and healing grenade and stuff, but on Hunter it's pretty consistent healing, to be honest. How quickly is your... It's like a... What is it? 15-20% heal, I think? I think it's 15%. But a 15% heal... when you have more health too, actually. Because they buff your health, right? I'm pretty sure Wormhusk is a % heal. So... Wormhusk is actually probably not a bad choice just for survivability in here if you're playing Hunter.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I mean, we'll still have the Heresy gameplay on here, but as I was saying, like once you're kind of like, oh hey, I've been playing that for a bit, I want to go play my core rituals like Nightfalls, Crucible, that kind of stuff. If I want the endgame PvP experience, Trials is getting kind of a rework. It's mostly focused around the Lighthouse experience. So the main goal, big shout out to Mercules on the team that's been working on this for a while, and then Test and everybody too. But what is a Trials experience when it's not flawless or bust?
Right.
What is something where, as a lesser skilled player, somebody that just wants to go in and play some like elimination, get in, get some rewards, and then also visit the Lighthouse and see our friend Saint.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's framed more around streaks. So you don't need that flawless 7 games in a row ticket to go up to the Lighthouse. Now it's more, oh hey, I won 2 games in a row, lost a couple, but ultimately got 7 over time. Now I can go to the Lighthouse, open that chest, and then get some cool rewards.
Yeah.
So we had an emphasis on big article go out about Crucible. There's some comp changes, there's
Really?
matchmaking stuff, but also Trials is...
Hang on, it's about streaks, but you don't need 7 in a row. So you need a streak of 7 cumulatively? So you can't win, lose, win, lose, win, lose 7 times and go to the Lighthouse. Is that what he's saying? You have to do... So if you win 2 in a row, that's 2 towards your Lighthouse streak. The next one you'd have to get is another 2 in a row, or 3 in a row. I think that's probably better? So the thing with Trials is it is very much flawless or bust. And I'm shit at PvP, so I've been flawless like, I don't know, 5 times maybe. Giving me the ability to actually go flawless consistently every weekend, by not even go flawless, giving me a consistent way to the Lighthouse just by getting like 2 wins in a row. Like 2 wins in a row is easy. 5 wins in a row is pretty easy most of the time. It's just getting to 7 is annoying. And usually, I don't even play because I can't be bothered, right? That's the other reason why I haven't gone to the Lighthouse all that often, is because I don't usually sit down on a weekend and actually play. But if you gave me a way to consistently get to the Lighthouse, even if you suck, I would probably play. Which is what you want, really. You want more people playing Trials, because the big problem you have in Trials, if you have people who are fucking sweaty as shit, And then you have people who are useless just going in because they don't know what they're talking about. Like, they don't even know what Trials is. They're just going in because the game prompts you to go there. There's like a quest and everything that like prompts you to go there as a new player. So you end up with the only people in there being people who are absolute sweats at the game and play Trials every single weekend. And then you have people going in who have no idea what Trials is and get absolutely stomped and never play it again. You know what I mean? I think this is overall healthy. I'm trying to think of like a reason why Flawless or Bust is a good thing. Other than like a bragging rights thing, obviously, and like making the game quote unquote harder. It gave a bit more prestige to those Trials weapons, I suppose. But I wonder if they're going to make going to the Lighthouse flawlessly still the only way to get Adept versions. And then just going to the Lighthouse normally gives you a bunch of rolls of the regular gun? I don't know. Then they'll make going to the Lighthouse less relevant as well, you know? I don't know. We'll have to see.
This is our main game, or main focus for that. And you can see the armor that you get on there.
Cool
You'll
armor.
be getting these pieces like once a week or a couple times a week through challenges or opening the chest.
Nice.
But we're going to that kind of Osirian, that Egyptian theme again, and these text shaders great. It's one of those pieces where, okay, I'm going to be spending a couple weeks in here to fizzle. Oh my gosh, don't carry me, teach me.
Yeah.
But yeah, even
Just don't go up against me while you're out there if you could do me a solid.
yeah,
that'd be
even
great.
if you're not high skill, it's like you can earn these armor pieces. The cool cosmetic bit is like, oh hey, as a high skill player, I still want that representation of what Flawless used to encapsulate. So if you hit a 5, a 6, a 7 win streak and go open that chest, you're unlocking different glows. You're getting different cosmetics like ships, ghosts, the sparrow.
Or a farm time.
Right?
That's right.
And then afterwards, how long of a streak can you go on? We're gonna have a new emblem tracker where it's like, oh man, I went on a 25 win streak in Trials.
Jesus.
I'm kind of hot right now. And then
Said
have-
Andy never.
Yeah, Andy saying, hey Dylan, do you want to play Discord? And I'm like, sorry, I'm a bit too busy.
It's all right. We get it. You're a big deal. But
not a
no,
big
thank
deal.
you. Honestly, in the interest of being busy, thank you and yours. Obviously, putting together that article. If anyone wants to see all of that in pain.
So, to keep the... So that would imply to me that Adept weapons are still just in the Lighthouse rotation. Like, the first time you beat it, you get an Adept weapon. So, there's different glows. The ship is still from a Flawless run, I guess. Probably a 7 streak, I guess. Okay. Fair enough.
Painstaking detail. It took a village. So Dylan, to you and the PvP Strike team and everyone, thank you a ton for getting a lot of information together. I know we have one more topic to move on to, but I'm realizing in my notes I didn't quite get to speak to the reprised weapons. Let's call out a couple before we move on. There's one in particular I'm actually pretty excited about. It's the return of probably one of my favorite pulse rifles. I've been watching a lot of TikTok. Our friend Epic Defender out there is running Fighting Lion and pardon me, Cold Denial. So I've gone ahead and personally dusted off my Cold Denial, which is now also making a return. So if you don't still have it from Season of Arrivals, now's your chance. Dylan, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. What's your favorite role for this one?
Well, so back in the day, I always made sure to have Head Seeker, and it was
Paracausal Fluid. Gain bonus handling and mobility when damaging targets with this weapon. Swords gain increased charge rate while it's back. That with Head Seeker is kind of nuts.
kind of a niche perk back then. It was like, oh hey, it helps with one-on-ones a bit.
Right.
But it has been buffed over time. It's been a while since Season of Arrival, so I'm going to be going for Head Seeker again on this baby. And like, one of the cool things is that all of the reprisals are going to be dropping day 1 of Act 1. So you can go and get this. There are a few others that were mentioned, or I believe you're about to mention.
Another one, yes, that's right. We can honestly, I can talk about, or wait, my favorite role or the next weapon?
I don't care about your favorite role.
Okay, fair enough. No, that's fine. You know what? Message received. I'll leave that for
What is your favorite role? Because we debated this.
Well, there's,
Come on.
all right, it's very close. It's Zen Gnome and Headseeker. But
Okay, no, that's good.
It's just a two-burst machine. But another one I want to call out, one that's so well beloved by the community that a member or content creator in our community named themselves after it. Whispering Slab Enjoyer. Whispering Slab is now also getting reprised as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for y'all to go ahead and add this one back into your inventory. Is there going to be any new roles added to this one as well, Dylan? Anything
Oh
to say?
yeah, I mean, all of the weapon rolls, they're going to be
Origin
a bit
perk.
revamped. There will be some heavy hitters from the past, but also new perks have been introduced over time.
Yeah.
I mean, for the seasonal ones
Pugilist.
too, I believe it was
Opening
Morgan
shot.
Dickens, like working with her to see what are all the different roles, what can we call it on the stream.
Yeah.
She put a lot of love into those. Big shout out to the rest of the team as well. Like, I wish I could name every single person, but as you said, it takes a village, it takes a city to build a game.
I did really love Whispering Slab. It was my go-to bow for a very long time. Mainly because it's kinetic. Just having a kinetic bow was really useful a lot of the time. But yeah, I love Whispering Slab. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So big love for everybody.
Yeah, we're just the ones sitting up here today. There's obviously a ton of incredible peers of ours here at Bungie that are behind the scenes building all of this every single day. So to our teammates and compatriots at Bungie, we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much.
Are there any weapons you're looking forward to?
Ooh, yeah, let's really quickly check.
Oh, I'm looking forward to all the new Dreadnought weapons. They look so gorgeous, especially the new support frame. So I'll be rocking that through my run through the Nether. Just like watching our playtesters like run through the final bubble there. They were struggling and they need some healing.
Yeah.
I'll be rocking that, healing my teammates.
You're a better man than I am.
Yeah.
But we already knew that, obviously. Eric, any one last one that you want to call out
I
before we
mean,
move on?
that Whispering Slab is just so sexy, man.
Isn't it?
Like,
Honestly,
just
what a
like
distinctive bow. Like, how do you
It
handle
is. It's just like a big flat thing with a string. It's like, I don't know.
You know it means pain when you see it, honestly.
true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you shoot arrows from it, or do you just take it and hit people with it?
Dealer's choice. Depends whether or not you're a Titan. All right, so we obviously have talked through a lot of stuff today, but there is plenty more for you to go ahead and dive into when Heresy launches next week on February 4th. But before we go ahead and obviously conclude the show, we've got a couple more announcements to talk through, including our next dungeon. It's time to take a first look at the newest collaboration that's going to be coming to Destiny 2, and this one is joining us from a galaxy far, far away. Chat, I'm keeping an eye on you. I'm sure you're going to start going up soon, but that's right. Our next collaboration is inspired by a universe that's loved by so many of us here at the studio.
That's
Star Wars.
crazy.
Now, today, we're going to be taking taking a look at the new Star Wars-inspired armor sets that are going to be joining Destiny.
Destiny
and I
for
said,
Star
no,
Wars.
First up, we've got the Covert Ranger set for Hunters. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at that one. This one is inspired by none other than the Elite Death Troopers. Oh my god, I can't wait.
There's a beautiful cape.
Seriously.
Hunters are never going to need to use super black again.
Don't tempt us, we'll find a way. Yes, this one, and as of the other ones you're going to see, are obviously all going to be arriving on day 1 of Heresy. Up next, Warlocks, worry not, we've got you covered as well. We've got the Royal Protector set for you guys, and this time it's inspired by the Imperial Royal Guards. If you've ever found yourself in the throne room in the Star Wars universe.
These are all really cool. I think my favorite is the Titan one, obviously, because it's a Stormtrooper. That's hilarious. But they're probably going to cost real money and not be able to be bought with silver, so who cares?
Probably been intimidated by these guys. Now's your chance to go ahead and do the same intimidation when you load into trials or anything like that. This one is obscenely cool. And then last but very not least, we've got the Shock Enforcer set for Titans. This one's inspired by the classic Stormtroopers.
Yeah, this one actually I heard comes with an intrinsic perk that tanks your accuracy.
So it's alright, they're Titans. They're just gonna go ahead and punch you anyway, honestly. We'll check on that intrinsic perk. But yes, this one obviously, to the classic Stormtroopers out there, the fans of those Titans, you're gonna go ahead and be set and ready to go ahead and don this. Now, obviously, there's gonna be some stuff that will transcend across all of the different classes, including a new Ghost Shell that we'd like to go ahead and show you as well. We now have, let's go ahead and take a look here. This is the DS2 Ghost Shell, as you can tell, operational, but it's inspired by none other than the return of the Jedi Death Star. So it's a bit of a work in progress, but who among us isn't?
So good, man. I love the effect that comes out of the fight.
Yeah, firing the laser is cool. These are all cool cosmetics, don't get me wrong. It's really hard to give a shit about Destiny cosmetics anymore because they monetize them so fucking hard and they're so expensive that it just reminds me, like, they spend so much fucking money making this shit and, like, doing these collaborations and stuff. Like, how much do you reckon they paid Disney for this to happen? Maybe it was literally just a collaboration and Disney's like, yeah, sure, we'll do this for free, but I doubt it. I bet there was a shitload of money that changed hands. I don't know. They put so much effort into these things, and don't get me wrong, they still put a shitload of effort into the actual game. But fuck me, man. There's just, like, the amount of cosmetics that come out versus the amount of free ones that come out during the season is ludicrous.
There's also more as part of this collaboration for you to explore, so worry not, there's also a Sparrow, a ship, emotes, and a finisher, all for you to check out when Heresy launches. But of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't take a chance for starters to give huge thanks to our friends here at Bungie that helped us together. Kelly out on the marketing team and our friends over at Lucasfilm Games. It's been incredible to go ahead and work with you side by side to put this together. And of course, to make sure you're all in the know, we give you a heads up of exactly what this is going to be. It will not be at Tashi Station with the power converters. These will be available on Eververse when Heresy launches on day 1. So just want to make sure you're all aware of that. And also, I gotta say, I for one am going to be keeping a close eye on our Destiny Fashion subreddit because I can't wait to see what they got for us after this.
I mean, they're going to have this, they're going to have new Trials armor, new season or episodic armor. Yeah. They're going to have tons of new Eververse options, but tons of new options you earn in the game. Put it all together, make something dope.
Yeah. Awesome, very exciting. Well, I think honestly we've had a huge docket of things to go ahead and go on through, but now we can all collectively exhale and leave a little bit more for the Guardians at home to discover when Heresy launches next week. But that concludes it for our show today. So first things first, obviously, Guardians, to all of you out there, even to the individual spamming my face as an emote in chat, thank you all so much for joining us today. These shows are a ton of fun for us to get to put on. We love getting to share what we've been working on with all of you. But it doesn't matter unless you show up. So genuinely, thank you all for taking the time to join us today.
I can't imagine there's anything else here I care about.
Patriot, social media, Mitch, to Ashley, to Peyton.
All right, cool. Interesting stuff there. A lot of the gameplay stuff is the stuff that I care about the most. In fact, I've probably cut out a bunch of this video except for the gameplay stuff because that was stuff I actually reacted to. A lot of the other stuff I was kind of just watching, I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. I don't really care. But the gameplay stuff was all very cool. I will say, lore-wise, I feel like going into the Dreadnought is probably going to be the most interesting out of all the 3 acts. The first act felt like crap. I really liked the base idea of I'm saying acts, I mean episodes. So the first episode with Maya Sundaresh, the idea of going into Maya Sundaresh's backstory and the backstory of the VexNet and all that kind of stuff, that was really intriguing to me. The first act of that, I hated. Second act, I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. Third act, it had this build-up that led to nothing. Like, the idea, when he was saying this, like, oh yeah, Maya Sundaresh, she escaped. She didn't escape. She fell into a rivet of, like a lake of radiolaria and slowly drifted away while my Titan stood there looking at her as she floated away. Like, kill the bitch. She's there. Just walk in and punch her in the face until she's dead. Like, I could have ended it right there. It was ridiculous. It was one of the most ridiculous endings to a story I've seen in a while. It was so dumb. Episode 2 actually had a pretty good ending. I liked the entire arc of that episode. The problem was the gameplay and how the story was told. The 3-act structure did not work at all for that story. That story should have been start to end, just play through the entire thing, and it would have been a really good campaign, I think. It probably would have been like a 4-hour campaign, maybe, if you'd just done that. Probably less, actually, because you would have to take out some of the repeated playings of missions, which would be a good thing, because you don't want to repeat them too much. Like repeating the exotic mission like 4 times or whatever in that last thing sucked balls. So there still needed some work. It needed some work in the gameplay elements in that second episode, but the story itself, I really liked it. Going into this third one, I think this is the most potential to be interesting because Oryx and the Dreadnought is obviously really fucking cool. It's like anything to do with the Hive is always the coolest thing they ever do in Destiny. So going into this, I have high hopes for story. The gameplay activity, I don't know what they call it, the Nether, I think. That is intriguing to me. I'm wondering whether it's just going to end up one of those game modes where I just play in the solo mode until I farm everything. It's just one of those things where, like, I'm so burnt out with Destiny at the moment, and as I said, I'm back into Warframe. So I've been playing so much Warframe, and I'm having so much fun. And the difference between, like, I want to every morning I wake up, I'm like, oh, I've got to go to work. Could play some Warframe though. And then I'll play Warframe before I go to work, and then I'll get home from work and I'll play Warframe. I haven't had that feeling about Destiny for ages, but it's to the point now where I kind of want to go on to Destiny because I want to finish my season pass because I paid for it, right? I'm sitting at like season pass level 80 or something because I only played the story. I played like 3 times the entire episode, and it was the day the story released on each of those 3 days. I just do not feel like playing. It's like there's no motivation whatsoever for me to play. And that difference in feeling is huge. And I'm hoping that the kind of roguelike aspect of this new game mode will bring me back to play more and more and more. But fuck, man. As I said, I've been playing Deviri, which is essentially the roguelike version that they have of this game mode in Warframe, except it's hugely developed. It has a big chunk of the story that makes sense makes sense if you're a lore nerd like me. It doesn't make sense in a lot of cases, but it makes sense in the main story of the game. It's all included in the main story. You get in there and you can just spend like, it's this accelerated, infinitely scaling power fantasy, and it's so good. Like, you're essentially doing the same things every time, but it's like this open world area, you can run around, it's so fucking good. I don't know why this has turned into a Warframe Glaze video. It's supposed to be a Destiny reaction video, but the problem I'm having is I see what they're doing with this, and I'm like, this seems cool. The problem is, I've just spent the last 2 days playing Deviri pretty much exclusively because I love it so much. And the difference, like, I'm not going to be able to not make that comparison. And I don't think it's going to hold up, man. Like, I feel like it's going to be another thing where I play the story and then I never touch it again. Like, I don't know. I hope, like, maybe the changes to the subclasses, those extra aspects will bring me back. I don't know. The arc changes sound cool, but I'm just burnt out, man. I don't care about Destiny at all. It's a shame, because, like, I like Destiny, generally speaking, but it needs a big shakeup for me to actually be excited to play again. Anyway, with that depressing note, if you liked the video, please leave a like. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being. I'm sure I've cut down the actual reaction content to the, like, highlights, essentially. But, yeah. I don't know. Poor Destiny. It's just not holding my attention. Anyway, I'll see you next time, guys.